I am so sorry, Jimmy Butler. Honestly, for real. And it isn't because I didn't know you were a good player. I've always known you were a good player. You were on my favorite team. I watched you firsthand. The thing I didn't believe in is that he was him. But unfortunately, I've been proven wrong because Jimmy is him. I ain't gonna lie. Because it don't matter if it's the Hawks without Capella. It don't matter if it's the Sixers without Joel Embiid or with Joel Embiid. He's gonna put up his numbers regardless. But before we go any further with this video, I'd like to give a shout out to the sponsors, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is my go-to sports betting app, and I have to say I do not regret it one bit. It is so easy and simple to use. As you can see, they got the NBA, MLB, first half of the NBA, you can bet on that. That's really handy right there. WNBA, MMA, soccer, boxing, a whole bunch of sports you can bet from. And as you can see with the NBA, they got points, assists, rebounds, and assists. That's usually my go-to right there. Let me just bet on Giannis for that over because he's an easy over with points, rebounds, and assists. Then you move on to other guys like Drew Holiday. I'm gonna go with Drew Holiday for the over because I'm be real, he has to ball out. He had a really bad game too. He balled out in game one. That was kind of unexpected. They were in Boston, but he stepped up, and I expect him to step up in Milwaukee as they try to end out this series, or at least, you know, make competitive until Chris Middleton will come back, if he does come back in this series. Then you move on to three-pointers made. I'm going to go with Bobby Portis to at least give me 2 threes. That ain't too hard for Bobby P. He be getting in his bag, especially when he's in front of that Milwaukee crowd. I'm going to put that power play. All I got to do is put $20 down, and I get $100. It's just that simple, and if you're not convinced, you can use my promo code MUSTARD, and all of my users will receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Like I said, it's just that easy. So make sure you check out Prize Picks today. Link is down below in the description box. Now, I know some people are going to hear this and say, aren't you the one that's always trashing the Miami Heat? And yes, I am. And that's not going to stop, by the way. It's been proven over these last 2 games that they were only up because Joel Embiid was not there. I don't care how good you think Jimmy actually is, he can't overcome this obstacle. Not because he isn't a good player, but because the Heat are simply not the motherfuckers that people think they are. But trust me, I'm going to save my comments about the Miami Heat being the frauds that I've always known them to be for a later video once they lose to the Sixers or get swept by the Bucks. Either or, y'all know that video is finna be a banger. But as far as what I've seen this postseason, I can't lie, Jimmy Butler is just proving why he is Jimmy Buckets, because every single playoffs outside of last year, which we're gonna get to in a second, Jimmy has proven time after time after time that he can step up come postseason time. I mean, if you go back to his time in Chicago, he stepped up in a lot of playoff moments, whether it was against the Celtics in 2017 or balling out in 2015 on the Cavs in a lot of moments, while holding LeBron to one of the more inefficient postseason series of his entire career on the defensive end. Jimmy proved very early that he had the capabilities of doing what he can do right now in the past. I think the reason we just didn't really catch on to it back then is, for one, his numbers weren't as good as they are now, and also he wasn't the player then that he is at this point in his career. For starters, his jumper was a lot more consistent, and as a playmaker, he had not grown to the level that he is right now. Then you move on to his time in Minnesota, and if I'm being honest with you, the Minnesota year was a bit of a positive and a huge negative for him. He had a great regular season campaign and showed his impact right away on that team. They were a top seed before he got injured, but then the fall off comes when he got injured. He would get hurt and the team would crumble without him, falling to the bottom of the Western Conference and literally having to come down to the last game against the Denver Nuggets to make the playoffs as the 8th seed. He had a pretty pedestrian performance in the playoffs that year, but if I'm being real, he was coming off of an injury, so the expectations weren't for him to ball out or anything, and that's exactly what happened. He didn't ball out. But one thing that we always overlook is what he did in Philadelphia, because after being traded from Minnesota to Philly, he was only there for half a season and he still established himself as the leader of that team. You may not agree that he was the best player, and I will concede I believe Embiid was better, but it was obvious that Jimmy was the clear-cut leader of that organization at the time. But when you look at what he did in the playoffs that year, I have to admit he was the best player in a lot of moments, especially against the Toronto Raptors for that Philly team, because I am convinced that if he just played one level below what he did in that series, they would have lost in probably 5 games, considering how much of a liability Ben Simmons was, combined with the injury that Joel Embiid was going through. As many people remember what Kawhi Leonard was doing in that series, but a lot of people forget what Jimmy Butler did also. Defensively, we all know he plays it at an elite level, but offensively, I have to admit this was one of his better series. As for an example, you can just look at what happened in Game 6. as in Game 6, Joel Embiid had an inefficient performance shooting 5 of 14 from the field, and Mr. Max contract Tobias Harris himself also shot 35% from the field. But meanwhile, when you look at Jimmy Butler stepping up in an elimination game, dropping 25 points, 8 assists, and 6 rebounds along with 2 steals, shooting 50% from the field, and made all 7 of his free throws, many people just overlooked that performance, obviously because they didn't win the series and because Jimmy Butler just did not get that kind of respect at the time. Because despite really being the only consistent offensive option in that series, averaging 22, 7, and 6 on 44% shooting from the field and 88% at the free throw line, many people just looked at Jimmy Butler and said, hey, he's a toxic person in the locker room, which is why he's going to leave Philadelphia anyways, which is what happened as he went to the Miami Heat. And many people, including myself, thought that was a very dumb decision. I even came out and said I didn't believe Jimmy Butler was a max contract player. And boy, did I look stupid as hell as soon as the season started. Because after having a pretty solid regular season, Jimmy Butler, as we all know, led that team to the NBA Finals. Bubble or not, at the end of the day, he did get the job done. And what he's done since then has only further proven that Jimmy Butler is actually him. He showed it before in the past, he cemented it then, and he's doing it again now. Because after one of the worst postseason series I have ever seen in my entire life, Jimmy Butler got outperformed by Bryn Forbes in the playoffs last year. Disgusting stuff. Many people thought that Jimmy Butler was exposed as this player that is a good guy, but he's just not the guy. Because with the lack of a three-point shot or any type of consistent jumper whatsoever, I, like many other people, just thought Jimmy Butler was regressing and wasn't good enough to really be a #1 option on a team with championship aspirations. But my goodness, Jimmy Butler has been amazing so far for the Miami Heat. He's averaging 29 points a game in the playoffs so far, along with 7 rebounds and nearly 6 assists. He's leading all players in the postseason in steals per game with nearly 2.5, while shooting 53% from the field, 35% from 3-on-4 attempts a game, and 82% at the free throw line, which accumulates to a true shooting percentage of 63%. I mean, you literally can't ask for anything more. Jimmy Butler is giving you elite level production on both sides of the floor while averaging nearly 30 points a game throughout the entire postseason so far. I mean, the guy is going out there and dropping 30 pieces and 40 pieces like it's nothing, and even though certain guys are not stepping up, he's hitting shots that are unbelievable. I truly can't believe I denied this man's greatness just due to the fact of him having one bad series. I was very reactionary because of it. I thought that what I saw was a clear indicator that he's just not that guy and the bubble was a fluke, but my goodness was I wrong. Because it's clear in the playoffs that he just takes his game to another level. The man is one of the best finishers in the league. In the playoffs this year, he's actually shooting 73% in the restricted area to be exact. And though his jump shot is not butter or anything, it's still looking a lot more consistent than it was in the regular season, and hell, I'll even go a step further, it's looking way more consistent. I'm sure everybody has heard of the phrase flipping the switch, because Jimmy Butler is doing that right now. And outside of just his performance on the court this year in the postseason, I have to say his leadership is truly something special. I know intangibles are not everything in the game of basketball, but sometimes you can just see when somebody is setting the example for his teammates. Whether it's being vocal and galvanizing the troops, or it's just about him leading by example, Jimmy Butler has proven year after year after year to being one of the better leaders in this league. I mean, he is a culture changer no matter where he goes. He went to the Timberwolves and he led them to one of the better seasons they've ever seen in a very long time. And though they're back on their feet this year, they were literally so bad that they had to get the first overall pick in order to recover. Then you look at a team like the Miami Heat, who I still believe are pretenders, don't get me wrong, but he has consistently led them to playoff opportunities and chances to compete for a championship. I mean, sure, they haven't won a title, but that is not on Jimmy Butler. I know he played bad last year, and actually I'll even go a step further, all-time bad last year, but in 2 out of the 3 playoff runs that they've had, Jimmy has been that nigga, I cannot lie. So from here on forward, Jimmy Butler, I am so sorry. Even though you're not a superstar in my opinion, you are definitely him, and even though the Heat are pretenders, you are not. But you guys let me know your opinions down below in the comment section. I would love to know what you guys think about Jimmy Butler's status in the league. Is he the most disrespected star in the NBA? Let me know down below. Also, don't forget to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and press that bell for post notifications. This is your boy Young Mustard signing out. Y'all stay safe and have a blessed day. Peace.